Welcome to the GSMC Pets Podcast, the show that caters to pet lovers of all kinds. We'll talk about pets on social media, pets doing amazing things, and how to take care of the pets in your life. Whether your pet is a dog, a cat, a llama, hamster, reptile, or something more exotic, you'll find educational and entertaining information on the GSMC Pets Podcast.
Howdy, and thank you for tuning into the GSMC Pets Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Sam, and, where'd he go? Well, apparently Eisen has decided to go off on his own and just kind of enjoy himself in this nice, cool room that we're in currently. Because, well, when you go outside, it's pretty hot right now because, well, surprise, today, at least, for me, June 20th, first day of summer. So, of course, we're going to have a lot of heat, and we need to make sure that we take care of ourselves and also our little pet pals. So I figured that today we would start off and start talking about some summer safety tips for you as pet owners, and also just kind of seeing, what are some good practices that you've already done. And, it'll be a little bit of reflecting on my part, too. Now, I want to get started with one of those cold openings for The Office, the U.S. version of it. And there was just, at the very beginning, a car that had a dog with the windows rolled up, and it was just sitting empty except for, the dog. And everyone from the office that's in the vicinity there get very upset about it, and they break the window of the car, and they decide, okay, what are we going to do with the dog? So, in the end, they couldn't really decide, who exactly would do anything with the dog, so they then put the dog back into the car and taped kind of like some clear plastic on it. And if I remember correctly, there was a profuse apology on it. But yeah, I just wanted to start off this section with that story because it is quite relevant to what I wanted to talk about, and that is, well, taking care of your pets and leaving your pets at home when you do your chores or your errands, anything like that. Because, well, first of all, is it at all fun for you, as a human being, to, I don't know, sit in an empty car with maybe the windows down, the car's off, you're sitting in some shade, whatever, and, you would get bored as an individual, and then also think nature. Think about that, and nature and weather. Are you positive that you are going to be enjoying yourself in the heat, especially during the summertime? So, what I have to say is, for one of the safety tips I wanted to talk to you about, I want you guys to think, oh, well, we should really leave our pets at home when we're doing stuff like that. Because, one, the pet doesn't really get anything out of it. Honestly, you, as an individual, don't really get anything out of it, except, well, oh, my dog's here. Or my cat's here. And to be honest, and this is going back all the way back to multiple episodes, and I just gotta say, it's not all about you. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say that, even if you crack the windows, you sit your car in shadow, that doesn't mean that it's going to stay reasonably cool or in just kind of a reasonable temperature for people to sit in. Now, I don't know how long it takes some people to go shop through the supermarket or something like that, but I would say at least, well, I'm not going to say at least, but we can say that maybe people average around 30 minutes on a good day, let's say. So even that, 30 minutes seems like such a small amount of time, but then you turn around and you think, okay, well, 30 minutes in a car, inside of the car, and, you have just the natural heat of everything, and you kind of just start, well, the car just kind of starts absorbing the heat, right? And, well, within 30 minutes, the car's temperature inside can climb from 85 degrees to 120 degrees. Yes. Within 30 minutes. And then within 10 minutes, 85 degrees can be 102 degrees. So just imagining that with your pets and them trying to, I don't know, wait for their pet friend and just kind of sit in a nice cool AC again. Okay, you gotta think this through. This dog or cat is not getting anything out of the situation except possibly heat stroke. So, and of course you don't want to do that because it's potentially fatal. Now, when it comes to just real world demonstrations, there was, I believe, a vet in Australia, I think, or I'm not really sure, but basically the core thing is that he decided to do a demonstration to show what it was like in a hot car that is parked under the shade, windows are cracked, and he decided, here's my thermometer, I'm going to sit in this car for, let's say, 10, 15 minutes or something like that. And as time went by, it just quickly started, heating up in that car. And just over that extended period of time, he started sweating, he sounded exhausted, fatigued, all that kind of stuff. And then it's why would you do this to your pet? Some people leave their pets in the car for much longer too. And even if the temperature is 70 degrees, it can be a 20 degree increase just sitting around. So that's definitely something to really, really think about because, well, let's throw in babies here. If babies are put into the backseat of a car, windows are cracked, and then, you're parked in shade. Well, your child still is not able to get themselves out of that situation because, well, let's face it, they're not capable of doing that. And it's the same thing with a dog or a cat. They lack opposable thumbs. Sure, they might have an idea how those certain car door and locking mechanisms work, but hey, again, opposable thumbs. So, all that said, you are basically having the animal sit and wait for you because you just did not want to go out alone. And that sounds kind of mean, but at its core, it is kind of, it is basically that. And, well, yeah, I say, well, it's kind of mean. And I genuinely mean that. I refuse to let, to have, Cookie, Eisen, or Regina in the car if one of us is not going to be, well, if they're just going to be alone. Because, again, it's them sitting and waiting for you. They don't get anything out of it. You do. And it's not intentional that you're mean. It's just a reality of it. And that's mostly just kind of ignorance on your part. Not saying you as a listener, but as a individual that, maybe just kind of a general thing. But, of course, it is definitely a crime prohibiting, pet owners leaving their pets inside their, unattended in a car, for instance. And if you were to actually run into that, well, I think that maybe, based on meme culture, we're kind of pushed to this desire to free the animal and let the owners deal with the repercussions of it, which might mean a busted up window. You know, like how the beginning of that Office episode was. So, yeah, well, the thing is that what you really should be doing is, if you see an animal in a car, unattended and kind of looking like it's struggling to stay cool, windows cracked, all that kind of stuff, no AC going on, well, I would say definitely try to locate the owner, and then, or if that just doesn't work, and you can't find them, you call 911 and you stay by that car until help arrives. So instead of just playing hero, you should really try to make this situation as remove as much trauma as you can with this particular situation. So, I mean, there's a lot of resources for you guys to look into when it comes to just taking care of your pets and leaving them at home, because honestly, on a hot day, I would probably say, leave me at home. I do not want to go and do my errands. That was basically me today when I woke up. I did not want to go outside because it was starting to really ramp up on the heat. And come on, like June 20th, at least today for me right now, like June 20th is the first day of summer. And this is kind of like a public service announcement, basically. You want to make sure that your pets are hydrated, they are kept cool, all that kind of stuff, so that, well, they don't get hurt and you don't get in any trouble. So, I figured that for the time being, I'm going to let you guys go on a break, and I just want you guys to kind of think about, well, what more can you do to help your pet be safe during the summer times? So, we'll be right back after this commercial break.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America's Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back, and, well, we were just now talking about how we should probably leave our pets at home if we're intending on going out to do any errands or chores or anything that might cause you to leave your pet inside a hot car, which is always a big no-no. So I figured now we could talk about some other things, and a lot of these things are going to be kind of like no-brainers. So for instance, this next tip is to provide lots of water, because you need to keep your pets, and also yourself, for instance, you need to stay hydrated. So, I mean, it's amazing how some people take that for granted. I mean, when we had Brody even, and Cookie too at this point, but, well, they don't like drinking water for some reason, or they delay it for some extended amount of time. Like, Eisen is all about the water. He always drinks water. And same thing with Regina, which for Regina, that means like we have more instances of having to take her up because she is always hydrated. So, I mean, even so, like maybe you decide, okay, let's take Fido or, Mr. Fuzzy Face, to the park, the dog park. Well, I mean, one thing that you definitely need to do, especially when it's nice and hot outside these days, and, well, your dog or cat, well, your cat won't really be going to a dog park, I don't think. Are there cat parks? Something to look up. But for your dog in a dog park, they're going to be running around, they're going to be playing, they're going to be doing whatever dogs do at the dog park. And let's face it, they are going to get extremely thirsty. They're going to need water. And, I mean, you could, but a lot of the water that might be provided, like, in general outdoor areas, or maybe you are near, like, a river, lake, or something like that, like, the water isn't necessarily the best for your dog, so you should probably bring your own kind of water. And something that I found really cool was that there is a little, I'm going to call it a doohickey, I don't really know what exactly to call it, but it has like a bottle where you can fill the water, and then you can actually, there's kind of like a little lever-like thing that you can pull out, and it's basically like the water just kind of flows on into that little trowel. I think that's what it is. But yeah, definitely having something like that. We have one for Regina at this point. We haven't been able to. We haven't used it yet because we haven't really braved the nice hot summer now. But yeah, it's definitely something that you should be carrying. Anything that you are able to put water in so that they are not going to be like panting and hot and, you know, potentially getting sick because of it. But yeah, so for the outdoor adventure, it's very much so focused on, hey, I need to make sure water is available to my little guy. Because, well, you need to make sure you're hydrated too. Chances are, if you're thirsty, they might be thirsty too. Now, there is also another way that you can keep your pets hydrated. And one of those things I had mentioned before in a previous episode, and it was the episode with the pet life hacks. Like, you could take a sock, soak it up in some water, put it into the freezer, and then, well, you now have a sock that is, like, icy, and, well, obviously you get water from it. But yeah, so I wanted to add in, like, another kind of cool little hack that you can do, and I think this is a pretty cool thing to look at. Let's see. So it's a 3-step DIY popsicle. So that sounds pretty cute already. But I will say that the actual picture of the concoction inside a water bottle looks pretty gross. But apparently it works well. But so you're basically in this little project. You are going to need a few things. So you're going to need some empty water bottles, chicken or beef broth. Make sure that it's low sodium because, well, you need to make sure you keep your doggies heart health okay. You're also going to need some dog treats, a hot dog, or maybe some cheese cubes to, you know, well, food that your buddy likes, pretty much. And then after that, you're going to need a pair of scissors, or if you have one, a box cutter. So all this seems pretty natural, right? To kind of put together, right? I'm probably going to try it, but let's see what you're exactly going to be doing here. You're going to fill up the water bottle that you have, like 1/3 of the way with chicken or beef stock. So you're going to have chicken, beef stock in the water bottle first. Then you're going to add a few treats, dry dog food, cheese, hot dogs, whatever. And then you're going to fill the remainder of that bottle up with water, and you're going to close the top. So then you're going to freeze this bottle with all this stuff in here. And just make sure that you have it set upright so it doesn't drip. And leave it in the freezer for about 24 hours or until you know for a fact that it is like frozen solid. Because, well, it's gonna get really messy if you don't do that, to be honest. So now, after you're done and it's all nice and frozen, you are going to take that little box cutter or scissors and you are going to carefully remove that plastic bottle from around it. And make sure that this plastic is like completely removed and thrown away properly. Or, you know what, even better, I wonder if they would take it as recycled goods. But anyway, so you're gonna take all that plastic off, and you're gonna give your little pupper the nice little water bottle treat. And basically, it's kind of like a little frosty thing. And when you look at it, the pictures of its complete and final version of itself, it doesn't look as gross as it initially does. But apparently, like, a lot of pets do like this, and it is a great way to keep them nice and hydrated and, just completely chill. Because this picture of this dog really enjoying it is just fantastic. But that is probably something I will definitely be trying out, just because it seems like a interesting thing. I know I'll be disgusted by it just because that's just who I am. But, I mean, you can basically put any kind of treat, make it personal to your dog. And let's say that they're outside and, well, they're just kind of enjoying themselves. Maybe even like having this little popsicle sitting in like the patio or like in a little shaded area, and just, let your dog get to it at any time that it wants while you're all outside. Also, just want to make it clear, you really shouldn't leave your dog outside by themselves in the hot weather. Just saying. So, make sure that you're there, you're present, and that you're there to make sure that your pet will be fine. Anyway, there is also this little thing that, is pretty easy, very easy actually. And, well, unless you are having problems getting water in your own home, but making sure that their water bowl is pretty much full the entire time. And I have to say, we have like two stations. One where Eisen has most of the access to, but occasionally Cookie could go in there and have some water. But then you also have the other station on the other side of our little baby gate from the kitchen, which is primarily for Reggie and also for Cookie. So all of that kind of stuff, you want to make sure that you have plenty of water available to your pets, and to make sure that they stay nice and cool, because when your dog starts to act a little bit funny, that, because it hasn't had a lot of water to drink, well, then that's going to be, something that you have to really look into. You want to make sure that your dog is nice and safe, and why not do that with, the natural course of the day, having water in their bowls, but also having this pretty cool popsicle treat that I, again, think I'll probably do. And man, it just seems kind of weird. Like, they have some cheese that it's either cheese or it's macaroni and cheese in this little picture of the DIY project. But hey, I don't even know. But I will definitely check into that kind of stuff, and, well, Reggie may or may not have one next time we talk. But we are going to go for another break, and it's basically something that I think a lot of you guys have seen on the internet when it comes to, like, just fur on your pets, especially during the hot season. So, we'll be right back after this commercial break.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back, and, well, hopefully your pet's bowl is completely full of water at this point, just because I did a slight reminder for you guys. But, yeah, I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit more on, well, safety tips for your pets. And this one kind of falls into, something that you see a lot of in meme culture online, and it's basically keeping your pet's coat long. And when I say that, I mean you don't give them those drastic haircuts that you see some people do. I actually had a neighbor during the summertime. He had a cat. I can't remember his name, I really can't remember his name. But he was a nice big cat that just was so friendly. He was an outdoors cat, which kind of upset me a little bit, but he seemed to be able to take care of himself quite well. And one day when I was coming back from work, he just kind of strolled up to me, and it took me a second to register that it was the same cat. And when I say that, I mean basically the entire body of this big boy was completely shaved, but he had a lion's mane, and the end of his tail also was kind of a lion's tail too. And it was just kind of interesting to say the least. And then, on top of that, you see, I think I've referenced this before, but there were people who would basically have their cats shaved up to where they look like stegosaurus. So there's that, and you can definitely check that online. It's very interesting and pretty, but I just don't know. I always questioned it. And then the very last one I'm going to mention is just how I've seen increasingly pictures of dogs' bodies being completely shaved, but their head is normal or something like that. But yeah, you really shouldn't be doing that because, well, it really just kind of opens up the possibility of your pet getting sunburn and bug bites, and it's just easier to remove excess fur in another way, which is brushing your pets regularly. And, sometimes that's not really needed because, well, some of your pets are probably short-haired, like Regina and Eisen. Well, we still have to brush Eisen, but, Cookie has to be brushed because, well, she has that poodle fur that gets matted pretty easily. But, yeah, when it comes to taking care of your pets, brushing your pet is an amazing thing to really kind of relieve and calm your pet, for one thing. But then you start seeing, as you're brushing, just a lot of extra fur, from their undercoat or or things like that. And you just see it just start coming out, and you're thinking, wow, all that extra fur, I can't imagine what it'd be like for me. Unless I think of it as in a sweater kind of way that I can't really easily remove it. But yeah, it's something that's very good for your pets, very stimulating for them, which is definitely needed, at all times for your pets. Now, I'm also going to be telling you guys, there's this meme that I'm looking at right now, and you'll probably find it, but it's a picture of this beautiful border collie, it looks like, and next to her is basically a lot of fur, presumably hers, and it's basically molded into the shape of her body, and the text says, "Brushed my dog and made a new one." So, I mean, a lot of the times when it comes to grooming your pet that way, you might run into a ton of fur, which is going to be like the really unfortunate thing for people that have allergies. And this might be the reason why a lot of people choose to just kind of shave off all the extra fur. I mean, okay, I wish that I just kind of wish that there was a little bit more extra thought into all this, where, you know, there's not going to be that much damage to the dog, if that makes any sense. But hey, that's just kind of the deal over there. And I mean, it makes sense, especially during the summertime, that they're going to be just shedding a lot. That just kind of seems like not an easier way, but it's a more honest way of grooming your pets. Because, again, like, you could easily just go over to someone's, like, give my cat a lion's cat cut. And then you'll come in later and you'll see your cat looking like Simba or something. But, yeah, I'm thinking of, like, other things. Like, I don't know, even, like, considering, just humans in general, like, when it gets hot, there's going to be a lot of people that cut off their hair, and then they have a lot of skin exposed, they have less protection on their scalp, on their face, and then, of course, you get those bad sunburns, too. It's a very similar concept, but, for some reason, I always just kind of feel like, it's the truth. Like, people will prioritize themselves over other things. And when I say that, it's not bad, it's just a reality of it. And again, I will always go back to, it's not all about you. If you want something that looks like a little lion, don't give your cat a lion cut. Just get a stuffed animal that is basically a lion. Or you can pull a complete Joe Exotic and just have at it and make your own zoo, I guess, that you would find on the side of the highway, I guess. But yeah, definitely you want to make sure that your pets are hydrated and they're cool, and it's only natural that we would want to remove as much fur as we could from them, just to minimize the amount of heat they experience. But again, I really just think it's I don't want to say lazy, but it's a very non-committal kind of thing that you're doing there, unfortunately. And who knows, maybe there's, additional research on this, or, additional writing on it about, the best way to keep your pets, cool during the summertime, and just kind of having some insight on just haircuts in general. And I mean, of course, you can definitely see people grooming their pets, throughout the year, and it seems fine. There's, you don't hear much of a backlash on it, but I think the huge thing is that when you're grooming your pet professionally, you're not seeing dramatic cuts like the Stegosaurus, for instance. You are seeing maybe a trim over there, trim on the other side, the fur from the undercoat is being taken out as the pet is being washed. All this kind of stuff where your pet is pampered and you get to see them just be themselves without any dramatic imagery for them. And you really should check out this meme, actually. Maybe I can post it on the Twitter or Instagram account, because it's pretty cute. And it's definitely a good reminder of just the amount of fur that a pet can have. Because I can definitely say that in the past, when we have brushed Eisen, we almost were able to make our own new cat in addition to Eisen, which it's intense how much fur that these animals have on them. And then you come into summertime and it's just you're still very furry. How can you handle all this heat? And again, it's just kind of people anthropomorphizing their pets, and they think that, well, the needs of their pets is the exact same need of a human. But our biology works very differently, and I think that honestly it's just people projecting, honestly. But, break time is coming up pretty fast, and, well, I really, really want to post this meme now for you guys on our social media, just so you guys can see, like, what I'm talking about here. Now, another thing that we can definitely talk about now is, well, something that I've talked about a little bit already, and it's avoiding pavement when possible. So, we'll be right back after this commercial break, and, well, you'll get to enjoy, this other tip that is actually quite important, but people don't really pay attention to at times. So, we'll be right back after this break.
Is weird, odd, strange, or just plain bizarre is really your cup of tea? Then, the Golden State Media Concepts Weird News Podcast will give you that fix. Can't believe it? Well, listen for yourself as we deliver the strangest news.
Welcome back, and we were just talking about keeping your pet's hair long, fur long. And I say this because there are a lot of people who like to give their pets haircuts, and, well, it doesn't end up looking too hot, to be honest. But, yes, that's just one of the things that we've been discussing today, and I just kind of wanted to also talk about avoiding hot pavement, or, well, just any kind of pavement when you're walking your dog. And I say this because, well, I do have a story. Well, multiple stories, but I used to live in a place that had a nice little beach, and there would be, like, a parking lot just across the street. And, well, whenever we were done, like, out in the water and the sand, we would walk on back toward the car, and, well, kids being kids, we didn't really think much about it, but we didn't have our shoes on, and when we hit the pavement and then the asphalt, our feet were burning. It was unbearable at times, so it was a lot of hopping and a lot of desperately trying to run without hurting yourself, and it just was I won't say a very painful ordeal, but it was something that was very unfortunate. I guess I could say it like that. And I'm here to say that if this were to happen to your dog, would you think much of it? Well, the sad thing is that there are some people that don't really think about the well-being of a dog's paws because, well, people wear shoes, and inherently people can be a little bit self-centered. That's kind of a reality, though I do know some people that are not as self-centered. So I don't want to make that generalization. But yeah, just people wear shoes, they don't think much of it, and then you suddenly see that, people are getting a little bit irritated, maybe even giving you the side eye, and then someone might eventually say, oh, that pavement seems a bit too hot for your dog, or something like that. And then it just kind of hits you. It's like, oh, my dog's not wearing shoes, and the pads on their little paws are not supposed to be like shoes, so why am I doing this to my pet? So it's very important to keep away from pavement or asphalt because, well, that could very well burn your dog. If it's too hot for your bare feet, it is too hot for your little guy. So keep that in mind. I mean, I can't even imagine what that would be like. And I'm sure that if we Googled pictures of injuries involving pavement and pets, it would be very, very traumatizing. And I don't recommend doing that. I haven't done it yet, but I can just imagine why, what people would, why their dog would be, like, in pain, pretty much. And I would also say that in addition to keeping them away from the pavement and asphalt, well, sometimes your dog is just so insistent that you have to basically intervene and pick them up. This can even happen during the wintertime too. When we had Brody, his poor feet always got really cold, and when we first got him, it was like one of those awful winters that we had in the Midwest, and, well, there would be times when he would just stand and look just sad or helpless. And it was because, well, if it was too cold for my feet, it's probably too cold for his feet. So it applies in different scenarios. Like, in those cases, I had to, walk on over to Rhodey and pick him up and carry him upstairs to our apartment because he just did not want to move. His feet were so cold. And I imagine it's I imagine it's very similar to, the hot pavement and asphalt. It's just something that really just hurts your pet. And sometimes when they go out on their own, when they're on your leash or something like that, just thinking about, well, I want to hang out wherever I want to hang out and just leave me be was basically what they're thinking. Because sometimes they just kind of focus on being outside, and eventually they'll start paying attention to the hot pavement or freezing cold. Because I guarantee you that Brody was not resistant of leaving, of just kind of like going outside and exploring and stuff. Like, he eventually stopped. Not because of what I said, but because of what his feet were telling him. So there's that. And I think that also happened to Cookie as well, but Cookie has a lot of fur in between her little paw toes. So, of course, her feet's gonna start soaking up all the cold water from the snow, and I can't imagine having your feet that cold and that wet. It makes me think of To Build a Fire by Jack London. As to my fellow people who were tortured by that book or by that short story in like high school. But yeah, it's a very, it's something that we don't think about very often. And as increasingly there are more and more products that you can get for your pets. Well, mostly for your dogs, because they're the ones that are primarily outside. Like there are little, I wouldn't say rubber coverings for their feet. But there are also little booties that you can put on them, but I will go ahead and say that it is quite difficult to do, especially if your dog does a lot of thrashing and just seems uncomfortable with the idea of having those things on their feet. And, well, you do at least, when you succeed at getting them on them, you see them walking around really funny. It's adorable. I love it so much. But yeah, all of that, it's just kind of people thinking about what can we do to help this poor animal's feet when they're outside in like extremely cold weather and then also extremely hot weather. And I mean, I think there was this one time that I actually went out into the snow one year, just bare feet, and it's just, I don't remember feeling my feet for a good amount of time. So kind of put that in the back of your mind when you're thinking, oh, well, it's fine. You know, they have fur. They have those pads that seem pretty rough. So it's kind of like, you know, the bottom of a shoe. Like, no, don't make those assumptions. And, you know, again, I'm going to throw this in here again. It's not all about you. It is not all about you. So if you feel like your pet is having a difficult time going outside because, well, oh, the pavement's too hot, and then we have to cross the street to get to the proper donation areas for your dog's. Oh gosh, just kind of a joke that we have with Regina, like, you know, the sausage filling of that dogs have. So, in other words, poop. Okay, sorry. That was awkward. But, yeah, just imagine having all those barriers, and, you know, at some point for me, I just started carrying, whichever dog was struggling a lot, and then, you know, putting them in the grass, and then seeing if they want to try to get back home and, without any help. And it's just watching to make sure that, hey, your pet is, you know, comfortable and they're not hurting themselves. And again, it's an important safety tip that it makes sense, but, you know, it's like total common sense. But just, some people just kind of, not ignore, but they just kind of don't think about it very much when it's at that moment. So, that's pretty much what I gotta say about this topic. So then, and I know you guys are looking forward to this, it is July 4th coming up soon, so if you are more inclined to celebrate Independence Day, awesome, but this also means something absolutely terrible for your pets: fireworks. We'll be back after this commercial break.
The Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast, the show that gives you advice on everything travel. We explore places you've always wanted to go, as well as giving tips for traveling in those places. We'll give you advice on the best sites for travel tips, information, and discounts. Join us as we travel the world, explore cultures, and meet new people. The Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast has got you covered. Download the GSMC Travel Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Well, hello there, and welcome back. So we were just talking about how, well, pavements and asphalt are, like, horrible, especially during the summertime. It gets unpleasantly hot, and it could potentially really hurt your pets whenever you let them out and they're hanging out on the pavement or something. So, now we're going to talk about something that I imagine a lot of pet owners have experienced or have fears about, and that is just this, well, I'll quote this: more pets get lost on July 4th than any other day of the year. Yes. And I imagine that there have been some times when, during that time period, either your dog hides somewhere or your cats hide somewhere where they can feel safe. And then there are others that just have this instinct to just run away, which, I mean, honestly, yeah, that's totally natural. And it's just kind of a day where, well, not even just a single day, but like, maybe like 2 months before and then 2 months after or something like that. It just seems like an entire period, let's see, a 4-month period or so of people playing with fireworks. So increasingly for me, Regina has been horrified by just the sounds of like popping going on outside. And we have a neighbor who during the day just starts throwing all kinds of like little crackers, you know, those things that go pop. And it's a really loud noise. Like, I am surprised by how loud it is, but it's frightening. It makes me a little bit startled. And, well, the first thing Regina wants to do is like, oh, I don't want to use the bathroom anymore. I want to go inside where it's safe. So you can imagine, like, that little fear that she has, like, that's caused her to really want to stay in bed with us at night. Like, just, oh my gosh. Just that little fear that she has can get so much worse on July 4th, because, well, it's, like, crazy how involved people are in fireworks, and apparently our neighborhood has, like, an extreme, like, July 4th celebration, so we're new to the neighborhood, so we should probably try to go, but I also don't want to go because of how loud and chaotic it's going to be. And also, well, coronavirus, guys, it's still happening. But anyway, from my current experience right now, Regina is the one that is kind of the first dog that I have owned that has shown fear in like thunderstorms and fireworks. It's just kind of like a really unfortunate thing for her. I imagine during the 4-month period that we didn't have her when she was a puppy, she probably experienced some very sad things. But just kind of going along for just fireworks being a lot of fun for humans, like, it's just, you have to take some precautions if you're going to be involved with fireworks, or there's going to be a lot of people in your neighborhood playing with fireworks. And one of the first things that you should really make sure to do is, well, this is more of like in the perspective of cats, but it's very applicable for dogs and other collared pets. And for the first thing, it says over here that you should make sure that your cat is wearing like an up-to-date ID on them. So, you know, they have a collar and it has like up-to-date details about where you live, or just a phone number for them, and, you know, show their rabies vaccine tag, because that'll be quite important. Then there's also, like, taking current pictures of your pets, and, you know, in this day and age, especially for millennials, they are all about taking pictures of their pets. I really should start posting more of my pictures of my kids on social media, but hey, it'll happen eventually, I think. But then, in addition to that, you want to make sure that before any of the chaos of the noises and stuff, well, make sure that you have a set time where you just play with your pet. Get them tired. Get them to not feel so on edge. Like, just kind of get out all that energy, and hopefully by the time the fireworks start, they'll be just kind of chilling under the bed, sleeping, something, so that they're less likely to, like, run out. And then, in addition to that, well, this kind of goes to, like, a request for any guests that you might have for the 4th of July celebration, and it's, you know, asking them, say, hey, can you please make sure that if my cat is out or my dog is out, make sure that they stay in the house, or something or other like that. Because, well, it's a lot easier when you have additional people helping you maintain the peace in your household. Now, another thing is just to keep, like, all this fireworks stuff, you know, just those little sparklers, whatever, just keep them away from your pets. Store them somewhere where they can still be used, but away from your pets. So, so that they don't get, like, I don't know, harmed in any way, or there might be an accident. You don't want that. So in addition to that, you want to make sure that, you know, with all this in mind, make sure that your pets, are put into, like, an escape-free kind of room where they really have to try hard to escape. So, I mean, that could be your bathroom, could be something in the basement, but you have to make sure everything's, like, you know, all holed up in the basement. But then in addition to that, you really want to make sure that you put on some gentle music for your pets, because, hey, going back to my my music episode, well, just music is a great way to soothe your animal, and just it'll hopefully block out a lot of the noises of the fireworks, you know, exploding and stuff. Hopefully it'll be very helpful for them, and that they'll be able to just relax and stay a nice ways away from all the fireworks. But yeah, just, gosh, can you imagine just celebrating with friends and family, and then the night is over, and there's occasionally some fireworks going off even after that, but just kind of imagining the idea of your pets somehow getting loose and you have no way to find them. And that actually happened to one of my mom's friends from a while ago. He had 2 Boston Terriers, and one of them actually escaped during July 4th. And it was days before they could find him. So, and this is even with the caller with a phone number on to contact him. So, even if you have done all these things, there could be a very small possibility that your little pet just manages to get lost, and that's the unfortunate thing. But again, just make sure that when you're going out and celebrating this holiday that's coming up quite soon. Oh my gosh, I already said this before, but it's June 20th already. My gosh. But anyway, you want to make sure that you have a nice, warm, inviting environment for your pets during this very, very stressful time. And, you know, it's going to have the same messaging when it comes to New Year's Eve and midnight for New Year's Day. It's just a reality of it. And it's, you know, it's really sad that people really like to use fireworks, because just, I'm also thinking about veterans that have PTSD. It just seems like something that someone that is neurotypical would, you know, be focused on, and not on, you know, the issues that other people might have connected to that. But anyway, we are going to take a final break, and I just kind of wanted to tie this up with something that you should always be doing during the lifetime of your pet, and that is prevention for any illnesses that they might get. But we'll talk more about that after the commercial break.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now, don't bother, what's hot on Netflix, and everything in between. That's GSMCpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Howdy, howdy, welcome back. And we were just talking about fireworks and pets and how difficult that can be for a lot of pet families, to be honest. But we're going to talk about something else that is also quite difficult for a pet family too, and that is, well, the mosquito. And we are all quite familiar with that, aren't we? So, maybe like you're sitting outside with some friends, you're wearing some shorts and maybe a tank top or something like that. And as the day goes by and you're just hanging out and it starts getting darker and darker and you feel that humidity just building up around you, you start to feel little itchy little spots on your arm or on your leg, and you start scratching. And then you realize, oh my gosh, mosquitoes are everywhere. And, well, I'm not going to say you would think that people would know this, but I'm pretty sure that there's some people that forego the, just flea treatment and heartworm treatment, but just, there is a reason why, vets and their, vet techs push this, and just having prevention for just kind of diseases that a mosquito might provide to your pets, also to yourself. And it's very, very interesting just kind of thinking about the mosquito. Like, it's very tough. It survives and thrives on tons of environments and climates. So chances are you might be running into mosquitoes wherever you go. And, well, in addition to that, they live indoors and outdoors, and they're always willing to relocate. They're extremely flexible when it comes to just finding their next bit of food. And when mosquitoes are hungry, they basically can drink up to 3 times her weight in blood. And that definitely, whenever they're drinking all this blood for them, well, they're also going to be spreading heartworm larvae. And I'm quite sure some of you are very familiar with this, heartworm. And it's something that's actually extremely preventable, but depending on the lifestyle that you and your pet have, or just maybe the history of one of your pets, it's just kind of like, well, I wasn't able to prevent heartworm in my dog because somebody else dropped the ball or something like that. And that makes me think of a dog that was my husband's when he was growing up in high school. The dog's name was Sheila, and she was a sweet, wonderful little pit. I loved her, and I mean, just a very intelligent animal. But yeah, when they first got her, they knew that she was heartworm positive. And at this point in time, she was maybe 3 years old or something like that. So, at some point, maybe her preventatives lapsed. So she wasn't able to have that protection against getting heartworms. So it was definitely treated, and just kind of managed. But when they get heartworm, they definitely have heartworm for a goodly amount of time. But yeah, there's also just the need for people to just be more consistent with giving preventatives, because, well, let's be honest. It says here that the mosquito can live in a variety of climates. Now, I'm quite sure that colder climates are included in there. And hey, I've been bit by a mosquito during the winter time, and it's kind of miserable. But yeah, just this kind of emphasizes the need to be consistent all year long. Like, don't just kind of think, oh, I only need it for the summertime because that's when all the fleas are really out, and that's when the dog is mostly out for the majority of the time. And then in addition to that, there are people that say, oh, I don't really need to give my cat any of that stuff because, well, he's always inside. Now, the reality is, for that particular situation, if you have other pets that go outside, you know, like you have your dogs going outside and then they come back in, like any point in the year, and they run into the cat, well, there's a very strong possibility that they could definitely be infected with fleas, for instance. It's kind of like this entire coronavirus thing where you wear a mask to not just to help yourself, but to help others. And it goes back, you know, back and forth pretty much. So basically, give the heartworm preventatives and the flea preventatives, and that will decrease your chance of some sort of infestation or the case of the heartworms. So just kind of being careful with that is quite important. Now, I remember that there's a lot of back and forth in like how natural this kind of thing is, but to be honest, I'm always going to be one that does the research and makes sure that whatever goes, you know, that is topically put onto one of my pets, I'm going to know what it is. And then also, you know, with pills in general too, Eisen with his hypothyroidism, that kind of stuff. But kind of going back to mosquitoes and how we have such a strong association with them like coming during the summertime. Like there's a season for it. Unfortunately, it's not predictable because depending on, it just kind of depends on the climate itself. And right now our climate is quite chaotic. So you still have to be quite aware and just read the news, listen to the news, and just do your due diligence and protect you and your family, pretty much. Now, I do wish that there was more to say about this, but, like, essentially what it is, what this section is about is, like, make sure that you give your pets the treatment and preventative so that they can live a nice, long, happy life. Now, sometimes it can be, you know, a bit expensive, for some individuals to maintain this kind of, treatment for their pets because, well, I only go, like, on a month-to-month basis because getting like a single pill, like, for each of our pets, it's just kind of a very difficult situation because, well, let's see, how much did I pay? Like, I think it's like $20 a pop. So I'd be in one day spending $60 on, preventatives for the pets, which I don't have a problem with. It's just a reality that it makes it quite difficult for some pet owners to do this. And I wonder if surely there are different organizations that can help individuals with pets to maintain their heart health and their skin health for the most part. And that honestly makes me think of Cookie now because, well, she was seriously infested with fleas the first time that she came up from Kentucky. So, just kind of imagining the damage that I was done for her, like, her back was, like, covered in scabs, and, you know, her skin was very sensitive, and just kind of thinking, like, if she had any type of preventative during that time period, that she was, you know, alone, well, I imagine that she would be doing quite well, you know, skin-wise, but unfortunately, that's just kind of a reality of, you know, adoption. Like, you don't know what has happened to the pets prior to you adopting them, so it's kind of on you to make sure that you not make up for the mistakes of previous owners, but to step up and make the best life for your little pets for the most part. But hey, sometimes Cookie is not very grateful, but whatever. She can do whatever she wants, apparently. My husband would hate if I said that to him. But yeah, I wish that more people were more on top of that, of the preventatives, because that can definitely help your pet during hot weather or during the colder weather. It's just something you should do year round. And, well, I guess that's really all I gotta say today. I mean, I'm still wanting to stay inside because it is pretty warm outside. The past few days for us, it was just, nice and chill. It felt like a good spring day, to be honest. And now it is hot. And for the most part, Regina is always going to be like, hey Mom, I'm going to lie down on the pavement so that I can soak up the sun. She's loving the warm weather right now. And I mean, Cookie is Cookie. And, well, Eisen is just kind of enjoying his bachelor pad for the most part, I guess, and also hosting the show with me. Anyway, thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Pets Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Again, we are happy to get any subscriptions, any reviews from you listeners, because we absolutely love getting feedback. And also, hopefully I can, since I have a little bit more time on my hands, I can post more pictures of my lovely pets on our Twitter, our Instagram, and our Facebook pages. And, please definitely follow us there too. And to be honest, it's gonna be a wonderful weather. It's gonna be wonderful weather-wise for the next few days, from what I understand. So I hope you guys are able to enjoy that. Have a good night, and thank you so much.
You've been listening to the GSMC Pets Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all of the shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, from business news to weird news. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's podcast.